welcome back to another episode of Truth Be Told. Max here, and Dwight's with me, and we are going to, I don't know where we're going today, but I think we might still be on this bike trip, so
Yeah.
we'll find out.
Yeah, a couple of things I'd like to just talk about, and for this, not so much about the bike trip, but
Right.
what I learned in that, and
Lessons learned.
sometimes our learning experiences or what God is trying to teach us comes through the least likely sources.
Yes.
And people that we never would think of, and if we don't respond to it properly, that we become angry, we become bitter, and so I want to tie that to it, that the whole thing of pride.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And how much that pride keeps us from learning and developing, and the, in our spiritual life, in our emotional life, in our physical life, in our family life, and all of those things. And on this trip that I was on, and there were 9 of us. I talked about Terry a little bit. I've talked about Scott a little bit, but there was another young man, that Derek, who was on this trip with us, and he was part of one of the churches that I pastored, church I was in for 13 years as a pastor there. And Derek was like Scott. He was
Right.
high school and college when I knew him. And it's interesting now because Derek is now a grandparent. So his children have grown up. It's been that many years since we've been together. And
Wow.
and so he's had children. Now he has grandchildren, and Scott's family's all grown up. And so Derek was there, and we talked about some of the funny stories with Derek, and that we had back when. And so Derek and Scott and I Scott wanted me to work out with him at UNB at the gym in the mornings, and so we went and we worked out with weights, and we were just pounding the weights on it more and more every week. And Derek was a beanpole,
Right.
and so we were pushing 180, 200, 210, 220, and Scott and Derek, he was pushing 110, and it just kind of stayed there, right? And because of the build that he has, this slim, slender guy, and but he was also one of these. He wanted to learn, and he was a smart guy. So he was on the trip with us, and we had, and so Scott and Derek and Graham, a friend of Scott's from Quinnell, was there as well, and so each one of these, and there was Scott McKay. He's a friend of Derek's, or a friend of Scott's, that he plays squash with, not squash with pickleball with, and so Scott and Scott, they talked about going on a motorcycle trip, and Scott McKay laid everything out, where we were going to stop, how many miles we're going to drive, and he's this planner, and between him and his wife, and then there were friends of Scott's that were there, that just phenomenal bike guys, and smart, and every one of them give influence, and that, and I thought about going back to thinking about Scott's influence. The Scott's influence, that these guys liked him well enough as a human being, that they were willing to go on a 6-7 day motorcycle trip with him, and that influence that he has. And the thing about it is that Scott has this humility about him. And he's had a hard life. He's had a rough life when he was young and at home, and Scott was always teachable.
Yeah. So that I was gonna add to that, and be humble. You know, humble would be essentially, you could say, the opposite of pride.
Absolutely.
So if you have a humble, if you allow, and then Jesus talks about that in the scriptures. I mean, the whole book is full of
Well,
that.
yeah, just think about for a moment. Think about the humility of Jesus
Yeah.
himself,
Yeah.
the humility of God.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
illustrate what you just did here.
Basically, God become sending his son, becoming man, coming to our level, up here, but coming to our level,
Yeah,
and coming down, and giving, going through the not just being plunked into this world as a king, but being born in as just as we are. Basically, uh, not becoming equal with us, but in some senses experiencing the same thing, so that he un, he understands all. But it's hard to explain that. But like, he's coming to our level, and it's the same way he meets us where we're at.
yeah.
Bring,
Actually, Max, he does come to our level, yeah, because in Philippians it talks about he humbled himself and
yes,
he became obedient unto death, even death on the cross. But
exactly.
he humbled himself, being in the form of God. He thought not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation. Now that's
Yeah,
what real
yeah, yeah,
humility is, isn't it?
yeah. And when becoming humble, and not reducing ourselves and reducing our worth, but um when you have that humble spirit, and it's basically, you're on the opposite spectrum of pride, so you're teachable
Mm.
automatically, because you're willing to be like, okay, I don't know necessarily, or not necessarily I don't know, but I'm willing to learn something.
Yeah,
One thing that I learned is very early on is, somebody said, never be the smartest person in the room.
mm,
So wherever you're at, never be the I know guy.
yeah,
Basically, and if you're never the smartest person in the room, or if at least if
you think that,
you think that, you might actually be, and you might not. But if you think that, it's more of an internal thing, and it's a heart thing, and you're humbling yourself in every situation, and you bring yourself into that situation knowing that I might not know more than, I can learn something here, and I can
yeah.
learn from somebody and just observe. You don't go around saying I'm not the smartest person in the room. You just you you allow
Uh,
that to become part of how you interact with everybody, and
yeah,
then people pick up on that, and they're
it goes back to that expression that we used in a couple of sessions ago, that everybody knows something that you don't know.
exactly.
We've got these mics on, and they're a vast improvement over the mics that we've used in the past, or the last time, and yet they've got buttons on them that I had no idea. And so Abby's going to have to try to fix, because I put it on. I didn't know that the clip opened and closed. Thought it was a slide on, and I hit a button, and so we're going to, if she doesn't get out, it's going to be a whole lot of reverb there. But everybody knows something
Yeah,
that you don't know.
yeah.
Everybody, whoever it is that you're in a room with. And if you go, you know what, Abby knows something, Max knows something, Kelsey knows something, they know something that I don't know. And so if I go, I humble myself and I go, how do I find out what they know?
Mhm,
And I want to go back to talking about Jesus, because I think that's one of our favorite
mhm,
things to talk about is
yeah,
Jesus in every way, shape, or form in his life. But
yeah,
when you think about the humility,
mhm,
God not only sent his son, not only did Jesus come and become man, but you think of the humility. He was born to poor parents,
yeah,
right? He wasn't born in a palace. He wasn't born in riches. And even though the world was made by him, and it consists and is held by him, and it all belongs to him, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
yeah.
But he came, and he came to poor parents. So think about the things in the life of Jesus that show his humility. Just some of the things that you would think off the top of your head.
Oh, that's that top of my head is always.
Okay,
No, I'm just kidding.
more
Um,
in a stable.
I mean, is stable. I was gonna say he's a carpenter.
Yeah,
Just a
stable
trade. He's a
carpenter,
tradesman,
the tradesman.
blue collar.
Yeah, and you know what? Think about this: God having to have somebody change his diaper. God having to learn how to walk. God having to learn how to do all of these things. You see the humility. He didn't come in as Superman. He came in, and the Word of God says that he learned obedience. So there's a
Yeah,
sign
yeah,
of humility, isn't it?
yeah.
Is that he was willing to learn to be obedient. And he was obedient to Joseph. He was obedient, even though he was their creator, even though he was their savior, even though he was their redeemer. That he learned obedience, and you see that throughout his whole life. And even when the disciples and others were trying to encourage him to uh, elevate himself and come to rule and into authority and power
Yeah,
over,
yeah,
he did obedient. He was obedient to the
yeah.
Roman government. He was obedient in all of that.
And he was obedient to his father to
Yes,
fulfill the re- the reason that he came.
absolutely.
Basically,
Yeah,
he came to seek and save what that which was lost. So he's not coming to be praised by all of those people that were found or knew better, but he was there to come and find the people,
oh
all of
yes,
us
absolutely. And so,
that
yeah,
that knew nothing or felt on the outside, and or you know he wasn't coming for the Pharisees. He wasn't coming for anybody that
like
knew.
yeah,
He came for the people that didn't know, and
humility,
yeah,
right?
because he created them
Yeah,
in his image, just
yeah.
like he created these people over
One of
here.
the worst things that the Pharisees thought that they could say to Jesus was really the greatest of all
Mm,
compliments. They said that he was a friend of
sinners.
sinners, right? What humility.
Hmm.
Whether it was a prostitute,
Yeah,
whether,
doesn't matter.
whatever sin that their lives had become trapped in.
Hmm.
And that's,
Yeah.
and we all have that. That's
Yes.
and that the humility is saying, yeah, I have sinned. I have struggled. I have that. And
Exactly, because you're honest with yourself.
yeah,
You're just being honest,
yeah. And
and the he sees the heart.
absolutely. And he went seeking, he went seeking Zacchaeus. He went seeking, Nicodemus came to him, but he spoke to Nicodemus. He went seeking to those that were hurting, those that were broken, the lepers, and those that had leprosies, and those that were and so you see the humility.
Hmm.
Um and again, the scripture tells us that we're to become like him.
Hmm.
And in that process, right, as we learn, and that humility, and
Yeah, and oftentimes when we learn in the circumstances that aren't handy. They're generally unhandy
mm,
or they're tough. But without the attitude or the humility, it's very hard to learn under those circumstances. We just get stubborn and angry and frustrated, and we forget.
where our pride shows up.
Exactly, and then if it's just bouncing off of a hard heart.
Yeah,
So then, when we're not in those, if we don't have that humility, if we do have that, then through those tough times, we can be like, okay, you know, God, I'm going to give this to you. It takes it off. It takes the pressure off. Number one, but it's also being honest and being like, I don't know, but God's going to bring me through this. But if we have the pride, we can just figure it out ourselves. Then we're not allowing uh, those circumstances to become learning instances either, and see where God can actually take us for what's in His will.
yeah. And not allowing the Spirit of God, right, to teach us to,
Yeah,
and
to listen and to learn and to grow and to move to the next step, and to also be sensitive to where when somebody else is going through a struggle, how can we be not not join them in the struggle, but like join or walk alongside, be a part of that, so that they don't stay there either.
Yeah, and when we become filled with pride, we're filled with arrogance. um, we set up a wall that,
Oh yeah, and people can see it.
Yeah,
or people can sense it.
exactly, when we start to say, "I know," and
Mm-hmm.
some of my grandchildren, they're doing something, and I'll say to them, "There's a better way to do that."
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I begin, they go, "I know, I know, I know," and they've closed the door,
Mm-hmm.
and I say to them, "But we all do it."
Yeah.
I
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, anytime, I'll just be honest. Anytime my dad's like, do this." I know. I know. Just let me figure it out.
Yeah, yeah,
But anyway, like I had, when I was building houses, I had very, very good mentor, and he's, really good at what he did.
Lance, right? Yeah,
Lance Temple. So he would be like, "All right, I'm going to show you what I do. This is what I do. This is how I do it. Try it out that way. If you find a better way, do that."
yeah,
But it was more. It wasn't like this is the right way. This is the only way. I've had other people that I've worked for that are like, you have to do it this way, and it's like you have no option. And then it
yeah. It goes back to that expression that I talked about a little while ago. That do the best you can with what you know, but when you know better, do better, right?
exactly, because everybody's going to have a different way to do it better in their own way.
I remember my dad telling me when I was young, and he would say to me, "Watch the person that seems that's the most productive, that does
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
all of these little, watch what they do, and then
Yeah.
and use that and improve on that."
Totally. Yep.
And
And
in our Christian life, this
mhm.
following Jesus, and
Yep.
as we're doing this, when you watch someone, you go, "You know what? There's something in there that I would
Yep.
like to
I wanted
emulate."
part of that in my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that part of being the teacher, and again, you're also going to be teaching them.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how many times you've been in a conversation, but I've been in a conversation and somebody's come to me for advice, or they've come to me and we're having a conversation, and they say something and I go, "Wow, I've
Mhm.
never thought about that before." That's
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So
Anyway, that wraps up this episode. So thank you for joining us on this tour, and we will see you guys in the next one. Truth be told, God bless.